Hello class. So last video, we talked about how to set up your still life. And we started talking about these eggs here you see on the right. And I finally ended up with a composition that I like and an arrangement that I like. And so I have that set up for you here so that you can see it. But I've already started drawing that, and I'm going to get to the steps that you should take when drawing a still life. I do want this drawing to be an 18 by 24 drawing paper page. I want it to be with charcoal, and you'll need to use sighting and measuring. So remember when I said everything that we learn builds on what we learned before. So these are what you should have done by now, plus the cube. But I'm going to talk here in this drawing. There's a whole lot of cylinder going on and a little bit of sphere going on. So remember we talked about the different parts of the sphere. The highlight, which is the lightest part of the sphere. The light, which is the gradation of light as the form curves away from the light source. Then this is the core shadow that follows the shape of the sphere. Then you have the reflected light and a cast shadow. Here you've got basically the same thing in a cylinder. Sometimes this part right here is darker, just depending on the light source and the setup. But you have here where is the highlight, where the light is hitting. You have a core shadow. You have some reflected light. And a cylinder, really just about everything ends up being derived from a cylinder, a sphere, or a cube. In the case of this drawing that we're going to visit later, there's a ton of cylinders in here. Who can tell me what the cylinders are? Well, that's what I would have asked in class, and I hope that you tell me the sheet or the drapery is full of cylinders, right? Because it's the way it hangs in kind of half cylinder form. And the eggs are, if we took a sphere and made it go elliptical shape, sort of oblong shape. But you can still see, if you look to the right at the egg pictures, you can see there's a highlight, there's an area of light, there's a core shadow, and you can see that reflected light. That reflected light really serves to separate the bottom of the form from the cast shadow. You see how dark that cast shadow is, and then that reflected light enables us to see and understand where the bottom of the form is. All right, so I hope that you got these right. I'm going to be giving you feedback on these. Look at your feedback on these if you need to practice before you begin your value object drawing, which in my case is eggs. Then revisit it, ask me for help, ask for a Zoom session, whatever you need before you get started. Okay, so this is the skill set that we're building on. We're also building on our sighting and measuring skill set. Remember when I said everything becomes, cylinders are very common as far as lighting. This is a demo that I did in class when I put a basket out for still life. Baskets tend to just freak kids out because they're very complicated, right? And you just have to try to simplify things in your mind. So a basket is made with these, I don't know what to call these. We'll call them struts for lack of a better term. But they're round. They're just wicker. They're cylinders. This is what a cylinder shape is. This is the cylinder, the classic cylinder lighting. And that's the lighting that I used for these because they're cylindrical. And then what we do here is then with a basket, you just have, you've got your cylinder, and then you've got really just a flat shape, which is the basket weave part. And the basket weave goes to the edge, and remember, this is where you're going to draw on your, a curved line gets a curved surface, right? So as this line comes and this piece of flat wicker hits this piece of cylindrical wicker, it's going to get a curved line as it goes over it. Then it's going to flatten out again. Then it's going to go under it. And so we have this over, under, over, and then under, over, under pattern going on. And then what you just have to do is think of it from a light perspective. The light is going to be, the light shape as it goes over is going to pick up this lighting pattern from the cylinder. So it's going to be light right here. And as it goes down, it's going to go into a little bit of shade. And it's going to have a lot of shadow right here where this flat piece goes under the cylinder. The cylinder is going to cast shadow on it. And then if you just repeat those basic things, light where it goes over the cylinder, right? And shadow where it goes under the cylinder. And then the cylinder itself should have the lighting. That's really all it takes to create an illusion. This is an illusion. This is not a basket, right? Just like this is not a pipe. So I just keep emphasizing this because I know people get bummed out about practicing basic shapes because it really seems kind of boring and pointless. But I'm here to tell you it is not pointless. It's the key to your illusion. All right? So that once you start to gather those skills, and then you start understanding seeing light and shadow. This is something that was done in class. We have a bunch of skulls in the closet at class, in the classroom. And so, you know, when you start to see the light patterns and you understand that this ridge here is a cylinder, right? We just talked about it. This is a cylinder. It's got light where on the ridge of it, and then it goes around into darkness. Then it has these little pits and holes. Teeth are curved. Remember, I told you you have to think in terms of. You want to think in terms of shape in 3 dimensions, okay? So these are cylinders right here, okay? These are ridges. And why are they cylinders? They're cylinders because this is where the tooth inserts itself into the bone. And it's the root is causing that cylinder. And so with the light on it, we pick up the typical cylinder shading, which is a little light in the middle, and darkness as it curves away from the light source. These little ridges here can also be thought to be like a half cylinder shape. And the brow ridge has a little shading under it because it comes out, it projects out. And you know, that's the basis of this whole course, is learning about how to see light and shadow and looking for patterns of light. This ridge right along here was like a half cylinder. This part caught the light. This is a plane change. The plane change underneath it is dark. So in between teeth goes together like this, and that creates a shadow. So there's shadows in between the teeth. All right, so you just have to start thinking like that in order to draw objects with value. All right, so this is how we started off, and this is how you start drawing with objects. We sighted and measured, and we put everything in its place. We checked and made sure that our proportions looked good, and we got it to this state. We got it to an accurate line drawing. What we're going to do when drawing a value object is we're going to start with the paper toned a whole medium tone of using your vine charcoal. So we're going to start out with a medium gray or a light gray tone. And then we're going to put this on top of it from sighting and measuring. Okay? So then once we put the medium gray, then we'll go back to places that have the most light and we'll pull the light out. We'll go back to places that have the most dark. We'll put some dark in with the vine charcoal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put kind of a basic, maybe 3 value drawing on top of this with the vine charcoal as my starter. And then to get lighter lights, I might have to use more of a plastic eraser in certain areas, or if there's a really sharp highlight on something, I'll get my pen eraser to put in darks like the in the egg photo. That upper right hand corner has a couple of really dark areas that would be really almost black. The darkest areas, that and the cast shadow of the eggs, are the darkest areas, and I would really need to have my charcoal pencil for that. But as a placeholder, I'll use the vine charcoal just so I know where the dark values go. Alright, so I've already gotten a start on that drawing, but I want to just show you. You'll need a paper towel, really helps, and get the largest piece of vine charcoal you have, and we're just going to take the vine charcoal, put it on its side, and you'll know before you start this process, don't put this on anything that has texture. Try to put it on a flat surface that doesn't have texture. The drawing boards have not arrived yet, unfortunately, so I know that you don't have that, but just try to put it on a table that's smooth. And just get in the whole thing. You want to make the whole thing. See, it's picking up the edge of the paper there. There's a piece of paper under here. I'll just take it out for now. Alright. So you want to get the whole thing fairly dark, and then you just want to blend it with a paper towel. So I'm getting the whole thing dark. Not super dark. You know, you don't want to start off with, like, on a value scale of 1 to 7, you don't want to start off with a 6 or 7. You want to try to aim for the middle of the road, more like a 3 or 4. And so I'm going to try to get a little bit more down, because when I wipe it with a paper towel, some of it's going to become lighter. So one mistake I do see students doing is making this too dark to begin with. Now remember, you're going to want to pull some highlights out of here. So, alright, let's start it. When I get to about this state, I'm ready to take my paper towel and blend. Also, I did stick that under there. I want to make sure to get the whole page, because craftsmanship-wise, for your grade, you don't want to turn in something that doesn't appear to be completely finished. So you don't want to leave clip marks or smudges or whatever. So I've used this paper towel once before, so it's already got some smudging here. And I'm just going to take it and rub in circles like this to try to get an even gray tone. And that's how I'm going to start my drawing. I actually think that this is probably around a 3 on a scale of 1 to 7. Now I can put it under the clips. So just try to make it look even as best as you can. Alright, so this is where I'm going to start. So remember, I'm drawing these eggs here. So it can be a little overwhelming when you're first getting started, especially when there's a ton of different objects or there's something complex like this drapery. So the first thing I do is try to stay calm, of course, take a big deep breath, and I pick up my bamboo skewer. And what I want to do is I want to sight and measure. So I stare at the subject for a while, and I use my stick to sight and measure. I'm going to align the top of my stick okay, so look at the egg drawing. The first thing I was asking myself is how do I know how big to make these eggs? So I thought that I would measure from the very top of that lightest egg that's highest in the picture plane. I'm going to measure from, I'm going to align this part of my stick with the top of that back egg. And then I'm going to take the measurement from there all the way down to the end of the bottom of the composition. And I'm going to use that as a measurement because I feel like that's the back of that little, I put a little Tupperware under the sheet. And I can kind of see it, you can see that a corner of it is visible and sticking out. So I'm going to use my sighting and measuring technique, and I'm aligning my stick with the top of that egg, and I'm moving my thumb down to the bottom of the composition. And I want to see how many times that shape fits into the overall composition. I mean, not that shape, but that measurement. And I got that it is a little bit less than 3. And because you'll start to learn where you can take artistic liberty and stuff like that. But I'm just going to use 3. I'm going to divide my page into thirds. I'm going to have the eggs, that top of that back egg, the lightest one, is going to come up to 1/3 of the page. And the reason I feel comfortable doing that is because the rest of the drawing is just drapes. So they can end wherever they end, and I think it's just going to be fine, okay? So that's the very first thing I did with this drawing is I gave myself a line with vine charcoal, and I divided it into thirds. And that's probably not accurate. You know, eyeballing takes a while. Sometimes you never get it. So I eyeball it, then I actually put my stick down to see if it's accurate or not. And it's not. It's a little short. The third should be a little bit longer. Maybe it was better the way I first had it. 1, 2, 3. That's pretty close. I'm going to put it right here and right here. Alright, so I've divided my paper into thirds. And the only reason I did that is because I feel like the back of that, of the Tupperware is there. And now, so the next thing is, how else can I use this measurement? Now that I have this measurement on my paper, which is the measurement from the top of that back egg to the bottom of the page, how can I use that to decide where to center those eggs? They kind of look like they're in the middle, but I think there's more on this side, more room on this side than there is on that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this measurement, which is from, I got to get that measurement again, using my thumb and making sure my elbow is straight. And then I'm going to see how many times that measurement goes into the width of the entire drawing. So I'm just going to pick out, I see that when I put this shape at the edge of my drawing, it comes to that little corner on the Tupperware. So that's 1, and then when I do it again, it comes to the beginning of that last egg, and then it's 3. That's perfect, right? So what I'm going to do is, and I wish you could see me pointing to this picture, but again, the measurement, this measurement represents the top of that back egg down to the bottom of the page. It fits across here about 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So it's possible, did I cut off part of that with this? No, okay. Let me just double check something before I make a line. Okay, so that's about right. So I know that if I take this measurement and I start it from over here and make a mark here, that's about where the corner of that Tupperware is. And then if I take that measurement again, then this this line fell right in between the front two eggs. One of the eggs is going this way and the other one is going that way. Okay, so then I think to myself, okay, so I know kind of where this corner is. I can take my stick and I can turn it like the hand on a clock and get the angle of the edge of the Tupperware. Okay, so it kind of goes like that. So I'm going to draw that. I think that's kind of where the Tupperware goes. And then the edge of it is right about here in the front, and it comes down this way. That egg is in the back here, and it comes up to about here. So I'm going to draw the egg in the back. I know that the other egg stops right about here. And remember, don't loosen up right here. You don't have to be very exact here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. This one is overlapping. This one is in front, so it overlaps this one. This one is behind it. I've actually now drawn it in the wrong place. This one is a little bit lower. So again, remember when I say be willing to make corrections. I can also see there's about that much space. All right, so then this one is overlapped. It intersects. Where does this top egg intersect this egg? And it's right about here. So I can use that information to draw, and then it intersects it here, and to draw out that egg. It's about like that. Then the other egg intersects here, but I say, hey, wait a minute, that egg is facing me directly. It's not this elliptical shape that I'm used to drawing. So how do I know how to draw it? It's foreshortened. So what I'll do is I'll take my stick and I'm going to see how tall it is relative to how wide it is. And when I do that, I see that it's a little bit taller than it is wide. So it's because it's facing me. And I'm also going to be looking at negative spaces when I'm drawing. So the fact that this is a negative space here, this is a negative space here, they all have shapes. So I see this is like a triangle here. And this egg comes down, it's a little bit lower. And I said it's a little bit wider. It almost is a circle. If I look at it from here, it looks like a sphere to me. But I know because I measured it, it's not quite. It's a little bit taller than it is wide. So it's going to be something like that. And I can look at my negative spaces, and I can look at this shape. I think I've drawn it too tall. So just different ways to check your accuracy. All right, so, and then I've got this coming out. All right, so I've done this. I just kind of wanted to talk you through how I think about a drawing when I'm starting it. The starting point is the hardest point. Once you get in there, just get in there, make mistakes, keep always double checking on yourself. As far as what your what's correct, what you're looking at. So now the big question, how to draw these drapes? Well, remember before I talked about how these drapes are really, they are just cylinders. Just look at them as shapes. They're like, they're really like half cylinders. They're picking up the light. As they go away from the light, they're going into shadow. Sometimes they flatten out. This one that's over here, the furthest one from on the left, it's got a cylindrical top on it, like this, right? So if it comes down, I can also look at this negative shape. And I can also do some measuring. Where does it leave the page on the edge? Where does it connect here? The part that's this, I want to think about planes. So right now I'm just drawing the cylindrical part. So it goes up like this, right? A cylinder. So let's just pretend I'm drawing a cylinder. And then it kind of starts to get a little bit longer, and then it maybe a little bit flatter right here. And then this is a different plane right here. It's like as if this were a nose. This would be the bridge of a nose. This would be the side of the nose. So I'm going to do a little bit of a change in line direction so that I can envision it a little bit better. Then I have this really long one that comes from over here. I've got, if you're having problems seeing value, and you wear glasses or contacts, you can try, I do this all the time, remove my glasses and look at an image, and all I can really see are the lights that stick out and the darks. And everything else is a blur. You can, if you have good vision, you could try squinting, and it's to see if that makes the light come out a little bit. But I can see also up here, there's a dark area. Underneath there is another dark area. It kind of has a little lip like that. This comes down. Where does it intersect the egg? Well, there's kind of like this little triangle here on that egg. And it's got some light. And then that connects, and it goes up like that. And so this is where this becomes, this comes down and intersects right here. Also, we have this line from that egg. It comes here, and it turns, and it goes up, and it intersects in here somewhere. It goes up. This comes down. This is an area of light. So I'm just trying to understand where these lines are, and then it'll become much more clear to me once I go in and begin to, this has like a little thing there, this comes down, and I'm trying to look at negative spaces. Is this the right amount of space? This is, I'm doing these lines just so I can visualize what I'm trying to draw, because I start getting confused. And you know, maybe this is a change in line direction, maybe it goes that way. And then this was just my center line, which I don't need anymore. So this kind of comes in, this comes out, this thing is coming down at an angle. I can take my stick, I can turn it, hold it, get that. Alright, then I can hold my stick this way to see where on this egg, where does, how far down does that come? It dips. If I were to draw a line across this way, this swooping part swoops just a little bit below, like that, and it comes back up. I think I've actually made it too far over. So I will take this probably and push it back a little bit that way. Alright, so I just wanted you to understand the process. I don't want to make this one too long, but what I can then do is go in, take off your glasses, squint, get some of these areas of light. Just get them in there with this kneaded eraser. And so I'm seeing here that this is light. I know that I have highlights here, and here. I know I've got the lightest light here, And that light goes into this little V shape right there. And then this is actually lighter than the eggs. It's where that Tupperware is under here, and it's creating a light. And there's a little bit of dark here behind it with a light strip right there. And that light strip maybe continues up. Okay, so this is how I'm starting to build a drawing with just pulling out the areas of extreme light. I wanted to pull this one back a little bit. So let me see, because you've got an area. Maybe what I'll do, see, sometimes you can just get creative. There's those two fabric drapes there in the corner, and there's like a little long triangle of black. And I like that there compositionally, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And it's right about here. And then I'm going to pull out my drape here. And this one gets a little bit longer here. And then there's another one that comes out more this way, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull out that light. The whole thing isn't light. I mean, it's got some other values in there, but we're just gonna do this for now. And, you know, whenever you can, get rid of harsh lines when it's time to get rid of them. You'll get rid of them. Okay, so that has kind of helped me decide where to put this, the one that goes like that. We have the one up here. I think it just starts over here a little bit more. Because I'm going to get the angle, and I see how far away from this egg it is. It's over here, and then it comes up and it joins this one up here. It drops down, goes down alongside of it. It's not really too far from where I had it. And then it comes back up this way. Then the light part is about, the cylindrical part is right about here, and then you have up here a little bit, the little U-shaped shadow where that cloth has some shadow. In there. Alright, so then I can pull out that light. Then we have the fabric kind of, there's some that comes here, and then there's some that comes here, and it makes a negative shape, right? This negative shape is really dark. It's a little bit narrower. And then this has kind of it's dark on this side and it's lighter on this side. So I'm just gonna, so all of this is kind of how I start, you know, and I just want to try to quickly get myself to visualize it a little bit better. So I'm going to put in some darks now. I've got some of the major lights in. Remember, your eraser is a drawing tool. It's not just for corrections. We're used to using it for corrections, but the truth is, it is a drawing tool. You draw light with it, especially when using this method. It's called subtractive, and that's because you're subtracting out the light with an eraser. I see there's dark here. I'm not trying to be too exact with it. I'm just laying in the lights and darks. I'm going to put the little core shadows on these eggs where I see them. But there's also reflected light. So I'm going to try to keep that in there. And if I don't keep that reflected light in there, I can just pull it out and blend it over. Here we have, you can see that it's doing this here. I see that there is a pretty strong shadow, cast shadow. Right about here. So what is it that makes the egg object stand out from the cast shadow? It's the reflected light right here. Foreshadow. I like to try to get rid of some of these. Reflected light. Cast shadow. There's another cast shadow right here. See how, and how do I know? It connects down here, and then it connects right here. And then I'm going to make that really dark. And I'm doing this all with Vine charcoal now because I know I can quickly make corrections, and then I can come back with something more permanent, the charcoal pencil, and use that. Alright, my reflected light is going to help separate this from the cast shadow. And I still have my highlights, my areas of light. These eggs are brown, right? So they're not 100%, they're still darker than the sheet right here. I don't want to get too heavy-handed with the outline, but I do want to know where everything is. I don't want to lose the definition of the shape. Alright, so here's how I get started. I just keep doing this. I'm thinking about, first I'm thinking about proportions, then I'm thinking about putting in lights and darks. This area is a little bit, it's not as dark as this area, but the light is coming from this way. This is like a half cylinder, it's more like a cone shape, right? And it's got this dark shadow here, and then the major part of the light is coming in right here, and there's kind of a line right there. And so I can try to get a blend going there a little bit, taking out this. So we just want to continue that way. We took the light out here and here, a little bit, adding a little bit of this. You just add and take away, add and take away. These are not only edges, they're shadows. So I want to make them a little diffuse, right? Alright, so we have that going. This is catching the light right here. and then it's kind of going into shadow, so I want to see the light, but I don't want to see a sharp line because that kind of gives away my illusion. There's a little bit of value change here, but I don't want it to be harsh or it's not going to look realistic. So I'm going to try to just get that in there. And then there's a little bit more light that happens right here. And happens in here. So again, I'm just going to keep going and keep going and keep going with this. So I wanted to show you, I actually already did this. So I'm going to keep going with laying in the lights and darks. For instance, if I was going to go really quickly, this area, dark, right? You can see it up there. So really just think about light, dark, and medium here at the beginning. There's another area right here that's a little dark. It's got a little bit of a dark semicircle here, which I can put in and then make it this area a little bit dark. Put that in. This area is kind of dark, but it gets wider down here, and there's that V. And this area is wider. And then there's over here, there's this almost looks like a pea right here. Shadow of some kind. And there's a fold in the drape here. A highlight in here. A little bit darker here on this plane than it is on that plane. So that's the other thing that you have to start doing, is you have to start comparing, where are your lightest lights, which thing is darker than what other thing, and comparing that and make sure that that matches up in your drawing. And then after that, I'm going to start really refining these things. There's a little bit of reflected light in here. I'm going to start defining these things, and now I'm going to start going in and working on blending and using my actual charcoal pencil, like my 6B, to start making certain areas like this much darker. And I can also pull out my blending stump and my paper towel, whichever works best. If you have like little small wrinkles and little things that you want to put in, the blending stump is not only used for blending, but like the paper towel and the eraser, it can be used for actual drawing. Less so the paper towel, but so then you can actually put in areas of dark and blend them, and put in more and blend them. When I'm blending an area of black, I try to pick a dirty area of the paper towel, and I'll keep putting in layers until it's as dark as I want. And then you have to work on getting lines. Any kind of, when something is smooth, it usually doesn't have a sharp line on it. So you want to try to work on that. And so so that's where this is headed. And I have probably not gotten that much further with the one I started, but this is the one that I started before. And I haven't started using the charcoal pencil yet on this one. So what I'm going to do once I get it to this stage is just to go in and really focus on value. Focus on nothing but value. So I hope this answers some of your questions about how you're going to bring together sighting and measuring and value to understand how to draw things and the use of your basic shapes to understand how to draw complex things like drapery. Again, this is like a tube. So I think you guys can, if you start thinking in geometric terms and you start using this method where you start with a medium ground and you do your sighting and measuring on top of the medium ground, you go through, you take out your lights. Once you get your little line drawing down and you're happy with it, take out some of the lights, put in some darks, all with the vine charcoal, until you feel like, okay, I understand what I'm doing now, it looks right. Now I can go in with my charcoal pencils and really start to refine it and blend it and use the blending stump. So I hope that this is helpful, and I wish you the best of luck. Now, if you have eggs and you have a white sheet, I'd encourage you to set up your own drawing. But if you don't have access to eggs and you don't really have anything you're excited about drawing, if you want to draw this photo, you can. This course is supposed to be about drawing from life, so I encourage you to set up your own and draw from life. But if you'd like to, if you're in a jam and you don't have what you need, you can use this eggs and drapes photo. What I don't want you to do is to copy the other drawings that I put on the iCollege page. But you can use this photograph if you want, or set up your own. Also, if this doesn't appeal to you at all and you have some other kind of object that you want to draw, set it up on, set it up with drapes if you want, or set it up some way and light it and draw it, right? So you're just going to do the same thing that we've been doing, which is sighting and measuring and working with value. All right, so that's it. Enjoy. I can't wait to see your drawings, and if you have any questions, if you want to run something by me, feel free to email me. You can ask for a Zoom meeting.